So here is the first point of Buddha NAUSICAA. Oops, I need to explain the situation first. So there is a scene where Om comes out in rage and NAUSICAA saves Yupa under attack. I think everyone has already seen the movie, so play it back in your brain. Yupa is attacked by Om, then saved by NAUSICAA, his former disciple. NAUSICAA yells to him on her glider called Maeve, "Get upwind of it!" Yupa is surprised at the growth of NAUSICAA. Oh well, that was NAUSICAA. He didn't recognize it at first glance. He climbs on the dunes with surprise. Then there are many strange towers standing there. This is the first point of Buddha NAUSICAA, insect repellent tower. Well, as Yupa climbs up the hill, stone towers stand on the dunes, and many strange windmills are attached and making humming noises. According to the storyboard, this is an insect repellent tower, and it says when the windmill rotates with the wind, an unpleasant sound for insects is produced. Look at here, up close. Can you zoom in? It's hard to see, but there are small holes in the middle of the windmill blades. As these blades rotate, the air passes through the holes, producing low-frequency sound, similar to the insect charm NAUSICAA has. It's a sound insects dislike. So there is a tower to prevent insects flying from the toxic jungle to the Valley of the Wind in the setting. Well, it's something like a mosquito guard. There's a product called ultrasonic mosquito repellent that emits ultrasonic with a single AA battery to keep insects away, so think of it like that. It seems to be it's too much to just do this trick. So I think there should be another role of this tower, which is to indicate the strength and direction of the wind. So yes, it does repel the insects, but there's another function. The Valley of the Wind can only exist thanks to the wind, blowing up from the sea that protects the people from the spores and miasma, the deadly poison that drift from the sea of corruption. In other words, wind is everything for them. If the wind stops or blows backward, the village will soon die. Miyazaki himself wrote about this. Of course, the wind sometimes blows from different directions. So they have some techniques and mechanisms to survive through them somehow. But he didn't explain exactly what it was. So that's what we need to interpret from the material shown. Like, we need to think, if the wind in the Valley of the Wind flows backward, how will they protect themselves? One way is this insect repellent tower. They have some structure like a gearbox, somewhere around here. That's the mechanism to know. For example, when the rotation speed changes. Therefore, when the wind direction or speed changes, some other sound comes off instead of the insect repellent sound, or maybe in addition to the insect repellent sound. There could be a function to generate some ticking sound or a higher pitch sound to notify someone with good hearing in the Valley of the Wind. Even though I'll use my imagination, the main purpose of Buddha NAUSICAA is to analyze what it was that Miyazaki really tried to depict in this movie. That's going to be the main goal of my analysis of NAUSICAA. This insect repellent tower itself is written on the storyboard as a setting. But shouldn't there be any other mechanism in the tower that can tell the direction of the wind? That's my imagination. Next, I'll interpret from the image, not from a written text. This tower is made of stone, and the reason for that is what looks like sand is not actually sand. As I explained, they are rust and ceramic fragments. There is no such thing as iron in this world. While Miyazaki was making this film, he told Isao Takahata, a Ghibli producer and creator, everything that looks like sand in this world is a ceramic fragment, and there is no longer any ordinary sand or earth. Then Takahata was quite amused and said, "Oh, that's a story about people living in such a world? It's amazing. You should depict it in detail." That's going to make this truly a science fiction. And it should be meaningful to draw the strength of those who make their living in such a world. When Takahata got excited and said that. But when Miyazaki heard that, he responded, "I don't have time to do that. I only have 2 hours." So they had a big fight. Takahata said, "It's nonsense to just have them in your head. Visualize them if you thought about them." But Miyazaki said, "I can't put anything else in the movie if I do that." In other words, the difference between Takahata, who later ended up drawing the process of making cotton flowers in only yesterday, and Miyazaki, who gets angry saying it's nonsense to draw such scenes, can already be seen here. Takahata thinks everyday details as well as daily lives of people should be depicted first. What is in the world and how do you live? And to that end, that's fine to end up with a less interesting film. On the other hand, for Miyazaki, who, despite making a movie like Lupin III and Castle of Cagliostro, packed with a lot of fun, but tanked at the box office, was deprived of any chance to make work for many years. And was like, "This is my last chance. I have to get a box office smash, so I have to make an amusing story." So of course they'd fight. So, since no incident, no story is the motto in Miyazaki's work, there are many settings that are drawn in the pictures but not explained in the story. One of them is the stone tower. So with Buddha NAUSICAA method, I will try to describe Miyazaki's true vision of the Valley of the Wind and what was in his head as much as possible. As I said, there is no more iron existing in this world. The reason is that all materials have been replaced by ceramics many years ago. Iron and other materials have already been excavated and all have been replaced by ceramics. That's super ceramic, a fictitious material made up by Miyazaki. This super ceramic is not like pottery as we imagine today, but some dream material that can freely produce the property no matter how thin, strong, or flexible it is. So no one tries to find or use an alternative materials or matters. Even for the clothing, Miyazaki refers to this as ceramic civilization, as everything is made of ceramic. What this means is that this is a replacement for our oil civilization. Materials that did not exist until about 150 years ago, such as plastic or any petroleum products, came into our lives. Today, even if you think you're wearing cotton clothing, for example, petroleum-based ink could be used as its printing material. So anyway, petroleum is used everywhere in our lives. This is our civilization, but what Miyazaki imagined is that with further evolution, everything is made of ceramic. Since it's so convenient no matter how soft, hard, colored, or durable it should be, ceramic is the best material in all aspects. So, you no longer need to use any other materials, and this ceramic can not only be made by baking clay, like what we do today, but also from various materials. So ordinary materials such as wood or iron existed before, have been replaced by ceramic. So in this world, there are actually no other resources but the abundant ceramic materials. If there is the technology to produce ceramics, there should have been any problem. But since the technology to recycle them has been lost, the world became a place where there's not only non-recyclable ceramics. And the desert with such materials has been created, and the world has passed the point of no return. Therefore, in the Valley of the Wind, metal parts, or anything that looks like metal parts, for example, such as the fittings that look like metal used in the windmills, are often carved from blocks of ceramics. Therefore, in the world of NAUSICAA, newly made items look very rugged in shapes. That's because those easy-to-handle metals, such as iron and brass, are all gone. They have large aircrafts, for example. Valley of the Wind has gunships, or as they come out later in the movie, Pejite or Tolmekia have large aircrafts, which they call airships. They have been excavated and used, but once they need to repair their parts, the only way is to carve ceramic pieces into similar shapes from scratch, because there are no other materials. So, this insect-repellent tower did not exist before the industrial civilization collapsed. There was no such insects at the time. Therefore, they had to start from scratch. So, what happened was that the Valley of the Wind had to return to the Stone Age in a sense. Returning to the Stone Age, they've built this tower by stacking pebbles. Indeed, they can make some parts of the windmill from some materials preserved somehow, or from the trees growing there. And they can also scrape off the ceramic products or fragments, but all these are piled up in the form of shattered ceramic pebbles or remainings, as if they were back at the Stone Age. That's why the buildings of the Valley of the Wind are made of bricks, clay, and stone. They've returned to the Stone Age. This is not an exaggeration, but rather based and modeled on the historical fact that the whole Europe was suddenly degenerated to the Stone Age after the fall of the Roman Empire, which ruled Europe with scientific civilization. Sorry to bring up something like a classroom subject.